Welcome back, Mojo Sports. And we just got done with the college football playoffs, heading to the final four now. And we got four teams that we did not expect to see in the finals. We're left right now with Indiana, Oregon, Miami, and Ole Miss. And not any blue bloods, if you ask me. Miami, traditional success, but haven't seen it in my lifetime, really. So, what do you think about this Final Four? What sticks out to you?
Yeah, Indiana sticks out. That sticks out a lot to me. They've had the worst, record in college football for a really long time historically. So that's awesome to see. And I think the Ole Miss Miami sticks out to me as well because those are two teams that I had, pretty much last coming out. Ohio State was a lock for me, and Georgia was a lock. So I think I would have expected to see Texas A&M, Georgia, Ohio State, one of those three at least in there. So that side of the bracket is kind of it's shocking a little bit. Oregon, Indiana, that's exactly what you and I both predicted. So that one's a little bit less of a shock, but that other side it's great for college football, I think. Having Miami back is awesome. The Ole Miss storylines are great. We get the Lane Kiffin stuff. I don't know. This is a fun playoff. I think this is exactly what college football needed a little bit is a shakeup.
I think college football is all the way back. And I was just out on college football a week ago. So I'm back. But yeah, Indiana, they win their first bowl game since 1991. And it just so happens to be the Rose Bowl and takes them to the Final Four. And every coach in the Final Four is a Nick Saban prodigy, alumni, whatever you
Disciple.
want to call him, disciple. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. So I think we see that trickle down effect. Doesn't look good for DeBoer at Alabama. I'll tell you that much. And sitting here with these four, I love it. I think it redeemed the college football 12 team playoff because we finally did see parity. We finally saw these teams complete upsets. And teams with a bye week are now 1-7 all time. Indiana being the only team to win after having a bye week. So we talked about rust last week and it stayed true. I will say though, I think the playoff committee won the week. I think they kind of redeemed themselves because if we think about the biggest gripes about the playoff committee, the first one was that Notre Dame didn't get in
Over
over
Miami. Yep.
Miami.
Yep.
Miami's now sitting in the Final Four, and they're favored by more than a field goal to get to the national championship. So you can't really hate on the committee for putting them in. You can get mad about the group of five stuff, putting two of them in. That'll get figured out over the long run. But hell, James Madison covered the spread against Oregon. So it
Yep.
wasn't like they just rolled over and died.
Yep.
I think it's a big week for the committee overall.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that you look at the Final Four, and it's a new faces of college football. Oregon, is the one kind of caveat in that they've been good for a really long time. But to me, I think this is what college sports is all about, and the storylines that we're getting out of Ole Miss. That's exactly what you kind of want out of college football. So seeing Georgia lose, seeing Alabama lose. I mean, Alabama didn't just lose; they got fucking smacked, which is it more of an indictment on Alabama, or is Indiana that good? That's kind of that was my biggest question out of this weekend. I thought Texas Tech would struggle. Oregon's defense has looked unbelievable. Ole Miss, Georgia, that was kind of a toss up to me. They're very similar teams. I thought Georgia's defense was going to play a little bit better than they did, but we weren't expecting Trinidad Chambliss to just be exactly who we thought he was week 2. We've been on him since week 2. We kind of sold our stock a little bit. We shouldn't have sold. We sold early. And then, Miami, Ohio State, obviously that's a shocker. But to me, the Bama, Indiana, like Indiana looks like who we thought Ohio State kind of was, and they look unstoppable.
Yeah, I think every time I watch them, they just dominate the trenches. They dominate. And Signetti never stops either. It's not one of those things where you ever worry about him getting complacent. He's never going to let a team back into a game. He's just going to step on your throat until the final whistle. And you got to love that about him. And he's going to carry that. And that's just how his team is wired now at this point. They've fully taken that on. But Joe, let's dive into the games. Let's go game by game. We'll do recaps of these games. Then after that, we're going to dive into some transfer portal stuff, some news. And then from there, we're going to preview the next matchups. And if we have time, we'll dive into NFL playoffs because those just finished up and all the matchups are set. So let's start off. Miami, they played Ohio State and they won the game 24-14 in the Cotton Bowl. And I don't know, Ohio State, they didn't look prepared for this game at all. They thought it might be a little easier, and I think the big momentum swing was Julian saying they're down 7-0, and he throws that pick six to go down 14-0, and all of a sudden everybody got real tight.
Yep. Have you ever seen Madagascar, the animated movie, like with the
Yeah,
animals?
of course.
Every time I just think whenever you say Julian Sam, like the King Julian, that's the little lemur
Mm,
guy. I don't I don't know.
that
I was
dude's a
hoping
baller.
yeah, I was hoping that, Ohio State would roll a little bit. We could get some King Julian shirts going.
Mm.
And I thought that'd be sweet. I thought we'd get a Carson Beck hate watch, and we didn't. So I don't know. I mean, Miami seems for real. Cristobal is locked the fuck in. It feels like they've turned a little bit of a corner. I love watching Mark Fletcher play. I love watching Tooney play. Like I love the Miami team. They got the swag. So I really like this Miami team, and they're starting to scare me a bit. We were high on them to start the year, and then we thought they were out of the playoffs. We kind of sold again. We've sold our stock early, too early on some of these teams. But I don't know. I feel like Miami is a shoe-in going into this next round, and we'll talk about it. But they looked good. They made Ohio State look like not who we thought they were the entire year. Their defense had been dominant, and they put up 24 like it was kind of nothing.
Yeah, I started to get nervous when you brought up last week how much we liked Miami going into the season and how talented they were. Because sometimes these teams might drop a couple here or there, but when they're humming at the end of the season and they have one of the most talented rosters, that's when it gets scary. And you saw that talent on full display against Ohio State. All the impact players showed up, and Ohio State, they just could not get anything going at first. It took them a little while. And Miami pulls it out. I think I was dead wrong too. I didn't think that Miami would be able to get a run game going against Ohio State. And Fletcher, he's a baller. He's
Monster.
making a lot of money through this playoffs right now. And I saw a cool thing about him too. His dad passed away a couple years ago, and he still like texts him before every game. So just to tug on some heartstrings for you.
Yeah, if anything's gonna get this podcast going, it's a father that's passed away. So, yeah, no, I love that one. I think the other stat too. I was thinking about it, but you mentioned the 1-7 it is right for the bye teams. The one caveat to that, and I've been thinking about it because it's like maybe we got to fix the timing. And while I do think we have to fix the timing, right, where it needs to be a little bit earlier, these games maybe should have finished around New Year's. Like it feels like these games should be done New Year's Day, kind of. You could shift the timetable up, figure out the buys. The one caveat to that buy thing is that every team aside from the one that won, Indiana, was an underdog. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something, the seeding, you can't quite fix that, but it feels like the underdog thing and the buy thing, it's hurting teams and it's hurting the playoff a little bit. So if Ohio State doesn't get a bye, does this game change? I don't know, but it just feels like some of these buys are a little bit, elongated. The season's too long. These guys hadn't played in a month. You basically get another fall camp going into these playoffs, which is it's a weird spot. So I don't know.
I remember watching Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma when he went, and they hadn't played in like 3 or 4 weeks against Alabama. And they were just so efficient going into that game. And by the time the game rolled around, it just looked like they had lost all mojo. So I know it's been tossed around a lot in this past week about moving those games up. And I think it's something we will see. But Miami advances past Ohio State. So we no longer have to worry about the big bad Buckeyes. And Michael Irving will be coked out on the sideline again. Get ready.
He's in Phoenix. I'm gonna see if I can get him on the show next week.
Would be lit. Would be
Hey, you want
lit.
to come to my house, man? It's a
Make
it's
him
a
do
quaint house.
the entire interview. He's just on all fours barking and just slamming a belt. Yeah, I'm
That
here
belt to
for it.
ass video, it made me slightly uncomfortable in ways that I didn't think it would. But I was watching, I was like,
Were
I
you
don't know if I like
questioning your
this.
sexuality or
And I was like,
what was
this
uncomfortable about it?
I don't know. It just was like, man, this guy's This guy's giving it to this Gatorade, container here. I don't know if I like this. Where'd he get the Ohio State sweatshirt? He pre-planned this.
If he does this to his Gatorade bottles, what's he do to his women?
It's I don't know where he's getting this, but is he gonna do the same thing to an Ole Miss Gatorade, or is this was just an upset thing? I don't know. Yeah, exciting to see him, and very happy he'll be along for the ride. Though he adds a lot to that sideline.
Act like you've been there before, Michael.
No, keep doing that shit. It's hilarious.
Then we moved on to Saturday. We got to the Orange Bowl in the morning, Oregon versus Texas Tech. And this was one of the games that I felt like I actually read right. I thought it would be low scoring, and I thought Oregon had the better offense and better chances to score. And we get a shutout, which you don't see very often when you get these two elite teams playing each other. 23-0 for Oregon. One touchdown at the end just for good measure. And they dominated this game from start to finish. It wasn't always pretty in the sense that they didn't really have too much offense either, but kind of busted it down once they got to the second half and just really wore them out. Dante Moore, he's playing really efficiently right now. Texas Tech's defense was good. We knew it was good. I think we both just had questions about the offense, and we saw that on Saturday morning.
Yeah, this was the rich guy Capital One Orange Bowl. This is the two biggest swinging dicks in college football in terms of spending money. You had Phil Knight, who's been on record saying basically open book, open checkbook to spend as much as you want to win a national title, and then you get the oil riches of Texas going up against the Big Ten. So this was a fun game to me. I really thought Oregon would win this game, and I thought that their offense would be the difference, but it turns out their defense was the difference. And Morton played pretty bad. Texas Tech, I told you about that Arizona State loss that I watched in person. And I know when Texas Tech played Arizona State, they had a backup quarterback, but it was almost identical kind of watching this game where it was just so frustrating watching their offense because it feels like they should have been able to win this game. They didn't. Oregon scored 10 points in the fourth quarter. Like it wasn't a big lead at any point really, but they just couldn't get shit going. So I don't know what the problem was, but yeah, Texas Tech's defense did their job. It just their offense couldn't come through, and money doesn't always buy you happiness is the motto unless you have Nike money, and then in that case it might actually buy you happiness.
I'm seeing right now that they're saying Morton, he finished with 98 yards. Is that
Two
even
picks.
possible? Also, I know I like EPA a lot. People don't really understand EPA, but instead of using the number, I'll use percentile to show you how good they finished. In that game, Texas Tech finished in the 0th percentile. So the worst possible offensive game you could have for this college football season, they landed in it. And Oregon finished in the 6th percentile offensively for EPA.
Right.
So, yeah, that was the difference, though, right there. A low scoring game. And I don't know. Did this make you more confident in Oregon, less confident, or you kind of even keeled?
I'm so high on Indiana that like if
Mm.
Oregon was playing anybody else, if they were playing Ole Miss or Miami, it'd be like, yeah, Oregon, right? Like they look good. Dan Lanning, I trust them. But fuck, man, Indiana they just look so dominant that I don't know if it'll matter because Indiana, it's not like Indiana's relying on one side of the ball. They got both sides. They have offense and defense where they're just going to control the shit out of the game. So I don't know if we get a legacy game out of Dante Moore. I feel like he didn't play his best game. They put up 51 against JMU, so I thought, hey, maybe this offense will have a little bit more confidence going in. But is Texas Tech's defense better than Indiana's defense? Maybe, but I feel like they're kind of about the same, and I think Indiana can put up more points than Texas Tech can. So I don't know. I don't think it gave me more confidence. If anything, it made me question just a little bit because, like you said, 6th percentile for Oregon. That's not
Terrible.
anything to write home about. So yeah, I don't know. Their defense looked incredible though.
Well, let's jump to Indiana's game. They played in the Rose Bowl, and that was the game after. And this was belt to ass. This was 38-3. This was a beatdown. This was worse than the games we watched with the group of five teams. And from the starting whistle to the final whistle, They controlled the game. They knocked Ty Simpson out of the game. Big hit to the lower back. They ended up bringing in a backup quarterback who honestly didn't play too bad. He was kind of fun.
Better
He looked
maybe.
like yeah, he looked like a unit. I think I might have dropped Simpson's draft stock a little bit. But biggest thing I took away from this was Signetti still just a killer. Even to end the game, they were gonna punt. They're up 35 and they're gonna punt with like a minute left. Signetti goes hard count, gets Alabama to jump off sides, brand new set of downs, end of game. Like it did the chess match does not stop until the game is officially over. He's always looking for an edge. And he's got a team of guys that fully believe in him. They're all bought in at this point. There's no mystique. He had a great quote in one of his press conferences. They asked him before the game about Alabama mystique, and he said, "You guys probably know more about that than my players do, because the only thing they see is game film and not a lot of mystique around that." So, yeah, he just keeps shit real and keeps you dialed in the whole time. I don't think Alabama's that good, to be honest. And I
No.
think also they were pretty defeated too. I think that score got ran up a little bit because Alabama was just defeated. But yeah, I do think this Oregon Indiana game is going to be very intriguing, but
Yep.
we'll get to
Yeah, I
that.
do too. Yep. No, the Indiana Bama game, Bama kind of jumped out a little bit. It felt like, they had a decent first drive, kind of stumbled on some of their early chances, but I mean, it was 0-0 going in the second quarter and it looked like, hey, this is going to be a good game, but yeah, Indiana just found something. And Heisman Doza, man, he's starting to feel himself, and he's starting to love the camera. I think he's starting to
Yeah.
get in front of that camera, and he likes being the guy, I think.
He
He's
wants to be
super
a
humble.
commentator, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's what he
I
talks
think he's
like.
yeah, 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 he's set up for a great career in whatever he wants, because there's definitely not gonna be any, bad clips of him out there. He's not saying anything crazy, so I think they're so locked in that it's gonna be hard for me to look at anybody else for this national title. They just feel like a team of destiny and undefeated. They're rocking. Somebody today told me, and it's kind of hot take, but they said, "Hey, Indiana would smack the 2019 LSU team." So the vibes are high for Indiana right now.
That person's on crack cocaine, that is. That is an insane take. There's no shot. That team was so
That's
loaded.
what he said. That's what he said.
Yeah, that guy was born in 2020. He never saw those Tigers. One cool thing about this game is I don't know if you saw, but the MVP of the Rose Bowl, did you catch this? Did you see this?
Yep.
They gave
Yeah,
it to the
knew
center.
knew this was coming. Yeah, yeah.
They gave it to the
O
center
lineman
slash
jerking off the O
offensive
line.
line. Yeah, you got to. That is badass. If I had
That
a
was cool.
Rose Bowl MVP trophy sitting right behind me, yeah, I would never stop talking about it. So, and Mendoza said it in his Heisman speech. He said, this isn't an award for me. This is a team award. And the only reason I'm up here is because of the 22 other guys that are playing on our team. And I think that's absolutely correct. I think this year we talked about the Heisman Award. It's probably the worst Heisman that we've had, at least in a long time. And it does feel like they gave it to the quarterback of the best team. Yeah, I agreed with him.
Yeah. It's sure. Yeah. I whatever. It's he got that from ChatGPT. It's like whatever, what's the most cliche thing I can say? Yeah. No, he's a good
I
guy.
think
I like him.
he
Good.
knows his role. He knows where
Yeah,
he knows
he
that
knows
he's
his role.
not Cam Newton, he's not Johnny
Right.
Manziel, he's not Lamar. He knows he's like,
Right.
I'm just in this system and I'm just never gonna fuck up and I'll make good throws. And that's all it takes.
Yep.
He's a
Yep.
cow
They
kid.
look
He's
good.
smart.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Finally, though, at the end of the night, we got the possibly the best college football playoff game I've seen, and that was the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss versus Georgia. Ole Miss wins 39-34, win by 5. At halftime, I believe they were down 9 to Georgia, and everybody's thinking, Lord Kirby Smart, second half adjustments. He never fails. There was also Ole Miss had a huge blunder at the end of the first half. The tight end that caught the ball decided to stay in bounds when they had no timeouts left, and the clock ends up expiring before they can kick a field goal. So they lose out on points there and completely on the player. There's no way the coaches weren't like, "Hey, if you catch the ball, get out of bounds." And the kicker for Ole Miss, Canaro, I think that's who it was, he has an absolute boot. I
He's a
mean,
monster.
yeah, every time they got close to, like, the 40-yard line, I would just take the over for that quarter because I figured that none of the sports books had his field goal kicking, like, priced correctly. Like, he was
Yeah,
kicking NFL balls. They were clearing by,
he's a
like, 10
monster.
yards.
10 yards. He's, he is insane. I think he's from Western Kentucky. He's 27 of 30 on the year, 55 for extra points. Like, yeah, he is going to be on an NFL team and he will make a lot of fans happy because he's automatic. Honestly, watching him, he kind of reminded me of Aubrey for the Cowboys. It felt
Mhm.
like that. It's like when the Cowboys get around the 50, it's kind of like, okay, there's 3 points, like automatic. Yeah, he should have got the MVP. They gave it to the center for the Rose Bowl. He should have been given the trophy because he made the difference in that game. The kicks he made too were like momentum swingers. It was like, hey, we're not out of this. I don't know. I was so high on Georgia. I read every other game right. Like I picked every game right except for this one. The problem was that this game really was my max units. So I played the most money on this game because I was so confident in Georgia. But Miami 10.5, I thought that was too much. Played that.
Smart.
Indiana, that was a free money, and then Oregon was good too. So it's like went 3 for 4 on these games, thinking about the betting side of things. I had Georgia moving on and I had Ohio State moving on. But yeah, I think this game, the problem that I'm thinking about is that I want Ole Miss to win. I want Ole Miss to win national title in spite of Lane Kiffin. But the problem is Lane Kiffin's still making money, so he doesn't give a fuck. And it's kind of like his child still, you know what I mean? So like as
Yeah.
much as I want it to be Ole Miss to win this, like as the fun storyline, like haha, you left. It feels like this will still be a win for Lane Kiffin on multiple fronts.
Lane Kiffin has to be rooting for them. I was thinking about this, but there's no way that he's rooting on their downfall. If you were the head coach of a team and you like knew all those players and those coaches, those were all your friends, that was your family for the past year, there's no way you just take a new job and then you're like, "Ah, fuck those guys." No shot. You're
Yeah,
going to
he
root for those
he
guys
also
and
stands
then
to make
he's getting paid.
$2 million. Yeah.
Right. He's getting paid. I do think it would
I
still be hilarious, despite him getting paid. If they win the national championship without him, then it's just, hey, you weren't, that important.
I know. He sh- he should be coaching these games. It's a little bit bullshit that he's not coaching these games, in my opinion. It's next season. I get that he left. It's SEC. You couldn't do it necessarily. And maybe it would have caused more of a distraction than it would have helped this team, and maybe that's why they're playing so well, is in spite of him, like, hey, you left, fuck you type thing. But uh it would just maybe they lose these games if he's coaching, but it just feels like he did all the work up until this point and now he's gone. Like, I don't know.
Would it be weird though if he was hosting visits at LSU while coaching Ole
It
Miss? Because
was.
signing day doesn't give a fuck. Signing day is in late December, so he has to recruit for LSU. I
I
think
know.
that's where
It
it gets
goes back to
messy.
this timing thing. It goes back to the timing thing. It's all fucked up.
It is fucked up. And Pete Golding, the head coach right now at Ole Miss, he was already the DC for them. So easy replacement. It's like, hey, you've been here. You're already part of the system. Let's just ride you out. But they look for real. And I think Chambliss, he got people's eyes that game. There was one drive,
Yep.
and I know you know the drive I'm talking about. He had 3 different plays where he just ran for his life in the backfield and just made a miracle toss to somebody each time and kept the drive alive. And they never felt dead, even when Georgia would come back and answer. And Kirby, what a psycho. But also, that's what makes him great. He hits the fake punt at one point, and you're
Yep.
like, yep, that's why you're the best in the business. Like nobody was thinking about it. You were thinking about it, and you got it. Then he got too cute late in the
Yep.
game, still plenty of
Yep.
time. He decided to go for it on fourth, lines up in a punt. He's got his quarterback out there, though. Quarterback runs under center, broken play, gets leveled, and Ole Miss is like, shit, we got the ball at like the 20-yard line now, and we're already winning. Very first play, what do? Most coaches probably hand off. They said Chambliss throw a deep ball, and he does. He throws a perfect back shoulder, and all of a sudden they're up double digits.
Yep. It's a classic. Don't take your chips when you're up at the black tech. blackjack table from Kirby. Should have just taken his chips and played some defense. But yeah, I mean, Trinidad looked like Caleb Williams. I know that's a weird comparison a year ago, but now, Caleb Williams looked pretty fucking good this year. So I think he had some of those plays where it's like dead, 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 dead sack, and then all of a sudden it's a 20-yard gain. So Ferris State alum, shout out D2, Michigan, wife worked there. So I love to see it. The Bulldogs don't get enough credit. D2, they're unbelievable. I think they won a natty last year. So I want Ole Miss to win this game. I don't want Miami to win this game. As much as it'd be fun for the U to be back and all that stuff, the storylines around Ole Miss are just pretty awesome. And, Lane Kiffin, maybe he deserves the money. I don't think he's got, quite enough. So he should probably get the 2 mil that he'll get when they win.
Last thing I want to note about this game, I think it was the longest final 10 seconds of a game of all
Crazy.
time. Two different
Crazy.
times they brought the stage onto the field because they thought the game was over.
those,
And
those
it
poor
just,
guys.
the game would never end. But then when the dust settles and it's been like 20 minutes and you're like, all right, we're finally going to run the last play. They're only up 5. And Georgia
I
has
know.
1 play left. Like even the onside
They
kick,
kind of ran a shit play too.
they did run a shit play, but the onside kick, Ole Miss didn't even try to recover it. They said the game's going to be
Nope.
over. Heads up play by the Georgia kid. He catches the ball while already laying on the ground. So he's like, hey, how could the clock ever start? I was already down. Just genius in all fronts. But to find ourselves at that point after waiting like a full 20 minutes and being like, there is still a world where Georgia wins this game was absolutely bonkers to me.
Yeah. They were running out of Gatorade to dump on Golding. They just kept showering him. It was like, dude, this game, yeah. And those stage guys, I mean, poor stage guys, they brought it out, hustled out, did their job. It's like, hey, back. It's like, all right, do it again. Psych, back again.
Another.
Like, yeah, that was a shit show. It was like the Stanford Cal, the famous game. So it's like, I don't know. I kind of loved it though. It was like the perfect chaos. And I thought maybe Georgia just rips off some fucking
Yeah.
bullshit at the end and wins that game. Like that would have been sick. That would have been
Georgia was also
peak college
they were
football.
getting calls the whole game. There was a face
Of the
mask
whole
that was the
game.
most egregious face mask I've ever seen. The only reason he was able to make tackles because he pulled the guy by his face mask first to get him close to
Yep.
him, and then he tackled him, and they just didn't call. But Ole Miss battles
That's
through.
Kirby though, dude.
That's
Kirby.
He hounds
gets
those
calls.
refs all game.
Yep.
He's the best
He's
at
the
it.
best ref worker in the business.
For sure. Well, that sets our final 4, which we'll dive into. But first, we've got transfer portal news. And the first thing I want to say about the transfer portal, we all know it's the wild, wild west right now. But almost a third of all college football players are in the portal at this moment. So if you have a favorite team, get ready to learn new names every single year because this is what it's turned into. And when I was a kid, the reason I didn't get super into college football, I was more into NFL, is because I knew who the players were on the teams. And it was hard for me. College, the best player usually leaves. He's usually a senior when I was growing up. He would leave. But now, college football, even if your best player is a freshman, he's probably gone next year. So you always got to learn a new roster. Do you think this is a problem?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a problem. I transferred, so it's hard for me to sit back and be like, hey, fuck these kids that are transferring. But it's like at the same time, when I transferred, it was a big deal. You know what I mean? You had to go through a bunch of steps. You had to sit a year. You had to do the whole thing. So it's like it's turned into unlimited free agency, and the timing of everything is so fucked that it creates a lot of chaos. I don't have a problem with guys transferring. I don't think it's the end of the world with teams. I think college football is a lot more tribal. You root for the school and it doesn't really matter who you play. You get the 1-year legends. I think about like Gardner Minshew at Washington State. I think about some of these guys like Carson Beck now leading Miami. We would never get these storylines without the transfers, so I'm okay with the transfers. Mendoza, exactly. So I just think they got to put a little bit of guardrails with the maybe make them sit a year. I think that would deter a lot of guys. But I also think that out of that third, I think there's going to be 10-15% of those guys that don't end up playing again, and they might just fall out and never make it to another school because we've seen it. A lot of guys they would come and play. Maybe they were the guy in high school, and then it just didn't work out for some reason. And sometimes they bounce back and they're able to figure it out. But at the same time, sometimes it doesn't work out, and there's a reason for that. So I don't know. 33% is a wild fucking number, and I think that's the system that the NCAA has allowed, though, and the NCAA is scared to enforce anything right now because if they do, they're just going to get sued. Well, there's no governing body looking over college. Speaking of transfers, and we're bouncing out of college football a little bit, but did you see that college basketball transfer? It's
Yeah.
a mid
Yeah.
fucking season edition. Like we're talking about mid season editions. That's insane. We're talking about trades now, like the NFL has. Like if we're gonna do that, then let's set up that system and let's actually govern it a little bit instead of this Wild West because it's not sustainable. And I guarantee you now, with that precedent being set in college football or in college basketball, you're going to see in college football, you're going to get some pickups in the middle of the season for some of these teams.
I personally, I don't love it. I did see someone that said you should get one free transfer, and then on your second transfer, you have to sit a year. I don't hate that idea. Uh, but I argue that the transfer portal and NIL have created parity. I think that's
Yep.
why we found ourselves in this Final Four in the first place, is that these teams like Alabama and Ohio State, in the past, it's always been, hey, come here. You're going to sit for a few years, but when it's your time to shine, you're going to win national championships. You're going to get drafted. And nowadays, these kids don't have the patience and they're going to transfer out of there. And it's hard for those schools to keep all those guys because before there was no differentiator. It was, hey, at, and I'm trying to steal guys from these other big schools like Penn State, but I really have nothing to get them here. Now I can shell out more money and I can say, Penn State, they're only willing to pay you a million. I'll give you 1.5 because Penn State's already paying all these other players so much money. They can't, it's not unlimited. I can decide, oh, you're more valuable. I'm going to give you this much. So I argue it's created parity and that teams will be much more even now. And these 5-star quarterbacks that used to be backups at Alabama quarterback gets hurt. Next guy, you're like, well, he's a 5-star. And the guy behind him's a 5-star. You don't see that as much anymore because those guys want to get on the field and play right away. And they'll go do it at a school like Texas Tech or Indiana. And I kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, it sped up the process. Joe Burrow, LSU, 2019, we talked about it. At Ohio State, transfers, and that was pre all this stuff, So it was back in time when he had to consider more things than just, hey, they're going to give me a little bit more money. So I think it's a good thing overall. I just think there's got to be some guardrails, and right now there's no guardrails, and that's going to create problems. If you don't have a structure around it, it's just like the NFL, right? Like the NFL has rules, and I'm sure some of those rules get broken with tampering and all that. We know that it's not concrete with all that. But at the same time, there still is a window when these guys can transfer, and the window is fucked up. So they got to fix the window. They got to fix the timing. And I think overall, it's a net positive. Guys aren't playing, then let them transfer. Who cares? Like, it's not, if it was a good enough situation, they would stay. They're not leaving because it's a good situation. So I don't know. But at the same time, we're getting to it here with Levitt going to Kentucky, and then the Kentucky quarterback's transferring to ASU. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck are we doing a little bit? You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of they're not leaving because it's a bad situation. Levitt was not in a bad situation at ASU. He was making money. It's a big school. They've played for a national title. They've been in the playoffs. Like, it wasn't a bad situation. His coach loved him. Like, I'm pretty sure he legitimately loves him like a son based on the press conferences. Oh, you've seen something new. Okay, yeah, well, same. But still, to that point, it's like, I guess, bad shit happens, you can transfer. If your coach is fired, you can transfer. If something happens, you can transfer. But I don't know. But you got something, so I'm going to be wrong here.
No. I just had an ASU fan in a group chat that said he thinks that Dillingham got rid of Levitt. He doesn't think that Levitt
Mm,
left. He thinks Dillingham after Levitt got hurt playing basketball in the regular season and basically fucked their entire
fair.
season, that Dillingham was like, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. And you're out of here, which is, I don't know. Who knows if that's true, but it's a great take.
Yeah.
It's fun. I also saw
Dillingham's a
a
Scatterbo merchant anyway.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you could have 22 of him running around, you'd win the Natty every year. There was a great Reddit post by a user named Titty Clapper and Washington State
Nice.
Cougs logo next to the name as well. He said, we should make the transfer portal random. It would immediately improve college football. We can rename it to the sorting hat and boom, college football is fixed. Imagine this. Dylan Raiola decides to enter the transfer portal. Boom, he's playing for the New Mexico State Aggies next season. You don't know where you're going to go, but it sure would make it fun, and it might keep some players from entering the portal.
I'm a fan of that. Yeah, that's why they call it the Harvard of the West out there in Pullman, because goddamn, there's some good ideas that come out of there. That is sick. That is
Yeah,
sick.
shout out Titty Clapper, Cougs fan. But biggest
I
transfer
love that.
portals, we mentioned Levitt. He goes to Kentucky, gets $5 to $7 million, which is insane. And then Mestamaker, who we gave Bagman of the Year award to, he is following his coach to Oklahoma State. And he will be slinging it in the Big 12 next year, and I can't wait to see it.
Speaking of a lot of money, I had a post I wanted to bring to your attention. I sent this to you, but recent news with Venezuela for all those politics fans out there. I'm sure you've seen some of that. Anyway, geopolitical. The first thing that I think of, and most of probably America thinks of, is how is this going to affect college football? And so that's exactly what some of these, message boards are asking. And we got one recently. It was on 3. It's a message board on 3. And it says, does this Venezuela stuff affect us? In quotes, Texas Tech. So a Texas Tech fan is concerned that the Venezuela invasion / takeover of their oil is going to impact oil prices, therefore reducing Texas Tech's ability to buy players.
Fair.
This is why we tuned into the sport. This is why we love it. I have no fucking clue what's going to happen with any of that, if it's going to impact Texas Tech's, money with their business in the Permian Basin. I've been watching Landman, so I'm basically an oil expert at this point based on that show. But just really good stuff coming out of the message boards. Thank you for your service for all those out there thinking about it.
It's good that people keep college football at the forefront of their minds, especially, with elections coming up next year. Yeah, it's just perfect. Yeah. Well, Joe, you want to dive into
So good.
the Final Four matchups?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm going to start us off with the Fiesta Bowl. They're going to you in Phoenix. We have Miami versus Ole Miss. And right now, Miami is favored by 3.5 with an over under of 51.5, 52.5 floating around there. And do you have a strong take on this game?
I don't. Because the problem with this is both of these games feel like a letdown spot. Like both of these teams are coming off, arguably equal upsets, I would say. And if one of these teams was coming off that upset, I would very heavily be on the other team. But based on what I saw, I think I'm going Miami. I think I'm going to ride with Miami. We liked them. We've talked about it before with the thought process of, if you have a lot of guys that are going to get picked high in the draft and you have a lot of NFL talent, you're probably going to be, if not in the national championship, close to playing for one. And if we're going off that metric, I think it's Miami. So they showed that stat. They showed those pictures with Mel Kiper and everybody's draft boards, and Miami had 3-4 guys up there in the top 10. I think I'm going to ride with Miami. I'm going to ride with belt to ass. I'm going to ride with everything about them and the use back, baby. Let's go Canes, and I'm taking Miami 3.5 here.
Yeah, I love that. I was as soon as the Miami game ended, I said, "Oh shit, these guys are for real. They're not fucking around." And then when I saw Ole Miss win, I said, "Oh, this is a perfect matchup." I loved it. Once I ran my numbers, though, it came back at Miami minus 2.5. So I didn't love that. But I don't know if I'm going to trust the metrics in this one because eye test. I just love Miami. I think they've got the guys to do it. And I'm undecided right now on a side. I think it's a good line. I think like 3.5 is right where it should be. If it was 2.5, I would nuke Miami. I don't know. I get scared in these situations. I think I'm going to play the over though. I think I like over 51.5. I took the over in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia, and that worked out. Very high scoring affair. I think I'm going to take it again, although Miami's defense is very, very, very good. And shout out to Ruben
Gnarly.
Bain, their star defensive player. After the game, they asked him, what his thoughts were beating Ohio State and this and that, New Year's Eve. And he said, all I want to do is go home and watch the finale of Stranger Things. So that's a guy that just is a nerd that loves ball. Kind of gave me Miles Garrett vibes after that.
Yeah, yeah. That's I don't hate the over, but I'm scared of it. I am not scared of
You
Miami.
should be.
I'm as I'm looking at this as I'm looking at no, no, I'm saying I'm not scared to bet on Miami. I am scared of Miami, so I will be betting on Miami.
And that's kind of where I lay because I have the Big Ten future. I have the Big Ten to win the national championship, which they're guaranteed to get somebody in that game. And I'm terrified of
Yeah, you
Miami
got a
more than
50%
Ole
shot.
Miss. So I do think I will be on Miami this week.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
offense,
you got a much
Trinidad.
better chance winning that bet. If Ole Miss wins that game, I mean, you might as well take it to the counter. I think that's a if Indiana or Oregon plays Ole Miss, I love their matchup. But if they play Miami, I think that's going to be a lot better game.
Agreed. Yeah, the way they're playing right now, and the fact that they've got the run game going too with Fletcher. When I look at the game on paper, there's one glaring hole in Ole Miss, and it's they cannot stop the run at all. Very good against the pass, can't stop the run, which kind of makes me think I don't want the over either because if Miami's key to win the game is to run the ball, that clock might just keep ticking, ticking, ticking. Yeah, man, I'm talking myself in Miami. I just feel like it's such a public play. I feel like the whole public's gonna be on Miami,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Sometimes it works out though,
it
like
does.
Indiana. Sometimes it just works out.
Oregon,
It just
Oregon
works
felt like
out.
a
And
public play too.
yeah, I
That one was free, minus two
mhm.
and a half.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I don't this is a don't overthink it spot.
I like that. Let's just ride with the hot team. Let's ride with Miami. And then we go to the Peach Bowl. So we're bringing the Ole Miss, we're bringing Mississippi and Miami. They're going to go all the way to Phoenix. And then for the Peach Bowl, we're going to go to Atlanta, but we're going to bring Oregon all the way out there. And Indiana, they're going to drop down to there. So right now, Indiana favored by 4 points, over under 46.5, 47, right around there. Joe, I know you love Indiana, but I did take Oregon to be in the national championship and 4.5 at FanDuel right now. It's just too good for me. I had to take it. I'm taking Oregon. It's tough to beat a team twice, especially by 4.5 points. I think this game's going to be really tight. I think we're looking at two really good defenses, two offense. I think this game just matches up well. And I've always thought this, but when you lose a game to a team, it's much, much easier for you to adjust because you know what you did wrong. You know how you could get better. When you beat a team and then you have to play them again, it's harder to make those adjustments because everything went well the first time around.
Yeah. Oregon's the only future I have left from our first show back in the day. So I put that in June or July or whatever like that. So I'm on Oregon here. I'm gonna go with Oregon. Everything in my body is telling me to go with Indiana, but that's the same thing that I had with Alabama, Indiana. It was everything I wanted. Everything in me wanted to take Alabama. That's not going to happen, and I think I'm going to take Oregon. And the only reason is because I stand to make money from it. Do I think Oregon's going to win the game? I don't. I think Indiana's going to win this game, but that doesn't really matter because I won't profit from that. So we're going to go with profits here, and we're going to go with Dan Lanning. And I think there's only one coach that's been accused of being on cocaine this year out of this game, and it's not Kurt Signetti. So I'm going Dan Lanning. He's going to be fired up. Peach Bowl, I like it. Chick-fil-A, it feels like it's Oregon's time. I think Oregon might actually get it done. Phil Knight's getting up there in age. He's wanting to see a national title. That's basically his life's goal, his life's mission at this point. So give me the Ducks, baby. Go Ducks.
I saw a stat about Dan Lanning, and it was about his time in Oregon, and he only has 5 losses. And each of those 5 losses, the team that beat them went on to go to the national championship. all 5 of his losses in his tenure. So if he loses this one, he's going to add another one to that resume, or he finally gets over the hump. But either way, Dan Lanning, fucking sick coach. There's nobody, if I was playing right now, nobody I'd rather play for.
Yeah, this is the good coach bowl here, in my opinion. These two guys, they're the hot names. They're the two guys I'd want to play for.
And if you haven't checked it out, Signetti and Lanning did like a joint interview either today or yesterday. And it was just psychological warfare the whole time. It's the two most intense coaches. And they basically just made jokes the whole time and tried to like get the other person to like soften up. And they were like, nah, your team's so much better than ours. Blah, blah. You're going to beat our ass. Just worry about recruiting. Don't even worry about us. So, the games have already begun, and I'm so much more hyped up for that game than the other game. Is that fair?
Yeah, yes.
Hell yeah.
But that's the same thing I thought with Oregon, Texas Tech, Bama,
Yeah.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Honestly, the game that I least expected to be the most fun was the most fun. So
I agree.
maybe Miami Ole Miss is going to deliver us a banger.
Yeah, I hope they both do. I think both of these games have potential to be very close. We're at that point where teams shouldn't be pulling away by too much. And when you look at this group as well, you don't see one team, maybe Indiana, but you don't really see one team that you think is just head and shoulders above the rest. And that's what makes this Final Four so glorious. Well, those are our picks for the Final Four. And we cannot wait for that to begin. So we like Miami and we also like Oregon. Ride or die with us. But Joe, let's transition because pretty soon college football is going to be over. And all we're going to have to talk about is the NFL. And we just got the playoff bracket set up. We have our matchups. So rapid fire. We're just going to go through these games one. You guys don't know us as NFL guys, but guess what? We know ball. We speak ball. And ball travels across all levels, all languages, all countries. So, the first game of the NFL slate on Saturday, we're going to get the Rams heading to Carolina to take on Bryce Young and the Panthers. And this game opened up as Rams minus 10.5 being away. Some books now at 9.5, kind of sitting right around 10 though. And that's a lot of points for a playoff game, especially for the Panthers, who have been really good at home as dogs.
Yeah. Before the show, we were talking about this game, and I was pretty convinced I was going to take the Panthers. But I think this game is going to drop to 9.5. And if that's the case, I can't bet against my boys. Rams, I had them as my Super Bowl champion. Fuck it, Rams they're gonna cruise. I think they cover. And if you're looking for a little extra sprinkle, Puka Nacua, 100 receiving yards, maybe a TD. That might be the parlay. Rams minus 10, Puka 100, and a TD. I think that's what I'm going with.
I won't take them at 9.5. I'm too scared. It's a lot of points. I love the Rams, by the way. I think the Rams will win the Super Bowl this year. At plus 10.5, I think FanDuel's still sitting there. As soon as the show ends, I will be taking Panthers plus 10.5. From there, though, on Saturday, we also get Packers. They're going to head to Soldier Field to take on Caleb Williams and the Bears. And right now, this game's sitting at a pick'em, a true pick'em. Sounds like Jordan Love will be active, will be playing that game. The Bears, they lost to the Lions today, but didn't really matter. And I will start off for this game. I like the Bears in this spot. I really do. I've been afraid of the Packers for most of the year, but now that they've got some injuries, I think losing Tucker Kraft was a huge blow to the offense. I think that was Jordan Love's most dependable target. That was the guy when shit went wrong. That's who he was looking for. And Caleb Williams is time and time again proved that if this is close and there's not a lot of time left, he's the fucking guy.
Yeah, I'm a very fake Bears fan, born in Champaign. The only NFL jersey I've ever bought was a Mitchell Trubisky jersey. I bought it out of a trunk from a guy in Vegas, and the only reason I
Balled out
bought the
today.
jersey was because the tweet he had. I love kissing titties. That was his tweet coming out of North Carolina that surfaced when he got drafted. So I thought, hey, this guy, he's got all the makings of an NFL quarterback. I think he might be, a long-standing starter. I was wrong about that, but it's nice to see the Bears winning. So Bears, I'm on the Bears as well.
All right, kissing titties. Then we get the Bills heading to Jacksonville to take on Trevor Lawrence, the prince that was promised. And right now, the Bills are favored by 1 on the road, heading down to South Florida. To be honest, I don't even know if Jacksonville's in South Florida. I just know it's in Florida. So, um, but the Jags have been rolling. And I was shocked that they were not favored in this game. I think Josh Allen's a little banged up from the Eagles game. And I just think the Jags aren't getting the respect they deserve. I'll be on the Jaguars for this game.
Yeah, I'm going Jags as well, and mine is strictly because the Bills defense. I don't love the Bills defense. I think Josh Allen will be fine, and I think honestly he might put up 40 points, but I think the Bills defense is not good, and so I think Jacksonville could put up 41 points, and so in that case, I will be taking the Jags money line.
What do you think about the narrative that if Josh Allen doesn't win this year, that he's officially a bust because you don't have to deal with Mahomes this year. You don't have to deal with Lamar this year. You don't have to deal with Burrow this year. So this is his year that it's wide open, and it kind of feels like he needs to win this one.
I think if you say Josh Allen is a bust, you're a fucking moron because if you watch any Bills game this year, that is not the case, and he has carried them to multiple victories. It just, one team wins the Super Bowl every year. So if we're basing quarterbacks, careers off of Super Bowl wins, there's a lot of busts out there, and I don't know. Is this a window they got to win? I don't know. I don't think so. I think the Chiefs might be sort of dead. I don't know if they're not gonna bounce back next year with just a vengeance. I think they got a lot of rebuilding to do. So I think Josh Allen's gonna have a chance, and if the Bills can fill in some holes on that defense, they're 12-5 this year. The fact that they are 12-5 with a defense that struggled so much, like I don't know. Josh Allen's done his part in my opinion.
Yeah. Then we get Niners at Eagles going to Philly across the entire country. Eagles favored by 3.5 right now. I'm a Birds fan, and I think 3.5 is too many points. I would take the Niners plus 3.5 in this spot. I think Brock Purdy's been playing out of his mind. Their defense is definitely sus, but so is the Eagles' offense. And yeah, I think this could end up being a very low scoring rock fight. Probably what they'll do.
Yeah, the 3.5, I don't hate. I think I'll be on the Birds though. I've been to a playoff game at the link. It's nasty. It is nasty. I went in Giants gear, supporting one of our friends out there in enemy territory. I will never have a sporting experience that was like that one. We were walking down the tailgate thing, and I bought a hat at the game, a Giants hat. It was a full on fuck you from literally both sides of the tailgate, walking through a tunnel. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. I did drink a beer with CC Sabathia. He didn't know I was there, but I knew he was there at a tailgate. So that was a lifetime experience that I'll never forget. And go Birds, baby! I trust the link here, and it's going to be cold weather. I think this game's going to get a little gnarly. I expect the defense to bow up a little bit, and I think the offense will have a little bit rocking. Playoff Saquon, he hasn't had the best regular season this year, so I don't know. I feel like the Birds aren't out of it. Everybody's kind of down on them. I guess the sports books aren't with the 3.5, but I don't hate the Birds to make a deep run. I really don't.
No, they can definitely win a Super Bowl. I think the 3.5, it does feel like a trap. It feels
Yeah,
like the sports books are
yeah.
knowing that you're gonna take the
Oh, they're
Niners
gonna
plus
cover
three
the
and a half.
Niners. The Niners are hot. You don't want the three and a
Yeah.
half? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not falling for it, you fucks. I'm taking the Birds,
Super
baby.
Bowl DNA from the Birds. Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts, I mean, he is stone cold during the playoffs. He doesn't get
Yeah.
rattled. I do love that about him.
The Birds are also starting to get a little bit healthy, right? Like their O-line's gonna have some guys back. Their defense is starting to roll a little bit. I think they're gonna be rocking.
Yeah, our record without Lane Johnson is very bad. With Lane Johnson, very good. Similar to like Steelers when they have JJ Watt, which, by the way, tonight picked off
Unbelievable.
Lamar. Unbelievable. He was literally the only reason I bet on the Steelers tonight was because he was playing. Yeah, he literally made the play that I think won them that game. So yeah, Lane Johnson, same category. If he's playing, we're always going to be the favorite, it feels like. Then let's move on. Chargers at Patriots. This is a fun game. And Patriots right now -3.5. Ooh, boy, do I think I'm going to take the Chargers in this one. I think Herbert, Harbaugh, the little love that they got going on between the two of them. I don't know. It gets weird sometimes, but
Yeah.
luckily Herbert's got Madison Beer, so you know everything's straight over there. But yeah, I like this Chargers team. I wish they were a little healthier. I think offensive line's still banged up, but he's the guy. He's the man. I love Herbert and I won't bet against him.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going Patriots though. I'm not betting against a variable. The only reason I'm against the Chargers is because of the injuries. I think Herbert's a little bit banged up, and
Yeah.
I think every game I've watched, he just gets his ass beat. Like
Whole
it's
game. He's
crazy.
so tough though.
It's
He always gets
crazy.
up.
Yeah. I just think it's a little harder to get up in that cold weather. So, Foxborough, give me the Pats. I also just kind of like the Pats. I think it's hard in the NFL to be like, oh, it's good for the NFL for a team to be good because it's a little different than college, where you get some of these teams where it's fun to see them in these deep playoff games and everybody kind of hates the Patriots for the dynasty and everything. But I think it's good for the NFL for the Patriots to be good. So I want the Patriots to make a little bit of a deep run, and I'm rooting for the Patriots in that one.
I'm hoping Stephon Diggs beating the shit out of that guy.
Oh no, it was a lady. It
Oh,
was a chef.
never
Yeah,
mind. All right. Well, forget I said anything. It was a woman. Moving
allegedly.
on. Texans, they will head to Heinz Field. I think it's actually not called Heinz Field anymore, but
No,
who gives a shit?
Aquashire,
It will
Aquashire.
no, it'll always be Heinz Field, Joe. They are going to take on the Texans at home. And right now, the Texans favored by 3, even though they're heading to Pittsburgh. And we saw tonight that place gets rowdy, especially with that divisional matchup against the Ravens. And when you get Rodgers in a 2-minute drill, hey, let daddy cook. I know he's unk, but he's still got it. And I don't know. This one feels like a rock fight also. Two good defenses and then two offenses that really don't move the needle for me.
Yeah, I think so.
I might take
Who
the
are you
under.
on? You're on,
I might
okay,
just take
under.
the under.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Under is a good play. Honestly, I might be on the Texans here. And the only reason is because I think Rodgers is just going to get his ass beat, and I think he never gets his ass beat because he gets the ball away quick enough. But I
So
just
fast.
don't think it's going to matter. And before we talked about before this show we were talking about DK legacy game, but the more I've thought about it, I don't think he's going to have time to get the ball to DK because I think the Steelers' offensive line hasn't really held up against some of these good defenses. So I might be on the Texans. I think they are a really well coached team. And I mean, when's the last time Mike Tomlin won a playoff game? It's been a while. Yeah, I'm going Texans. I think they might cover the 3.
I might just spend this week studying film. Aaron Rodgers loves to dump the ball off to Kenneth Gainwell.
Yep.
So I might take his receptions, but when I dive into the film and you're going against an elite edge rusher like Will Anderson, maybe they keep the running back in the chip block. Maybe I take the under. So we'll get back to you on that one. I don't know. But I expect a lot of dump offs from
Yep.
Rodgers, more than
Yep.
normal, which is saying something.
I hit on Gainwell receptions tonight. It was 4.5. I think he had
Was
four and a
it?
half in the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem was, I sent you the parlay. It was a perfect parlay. I concocted it perfectly. And Mark Andrews, I threw in a Mark Andrews 20 yards.
Mhm.
He had 14, and if you watch the game, he caught a pass for 6.5, maybe 7 yards at the end of the game. Problem was illegal formation, which is just a fake bullshit call, and it cost me my parlay. So yeah, on that one with you, Gainwell gets used like Bijan or any of these other guys. Like Rodgers loves it. He also
Loves it.
loves his tight ends. So I could see that. I could also see Thielen. I don't hate a Thielen. His line is pretty low every time. It's like 1, 2 catches, but Rodgers loves a trusty white guy. That is an Aaron Rodgers staple in his offenses. So yeah, Thielen, Gainwell, I think those could be some tasty props. And to be honest, the only reason I gave a pick on the Texans is because we're doing this show. I don't think I'll touch either side of this game. I'll probably just be on the props.
Joe, you gave out your bad beat of the week with Mark Andrews' illegal formation. My bad beat of the week was Michigan. They were playing in the bowl game
Texas.
against Texas, and I had Michigan plus 13.5 in a teaser. I had already hit the other teasers, so I just needed this last leg. They were up 3 with 11 minutes left, and they lost the game by 14. And I only got 13.5 because the line was at 7.5 the night before. So I got 6 points. I get to 13.5. When I woke up in the morning, the line moved from 7.5 to 4.5. And I still lost my teaser, Joe. I still CLV is a sham. Let it be known.
Yeah. Bryce underwhelming strikes again.
Yeah, Bryce oh, I like that. Bryce underwhelming.
It's not
You heard
mine.
it here first.
It's not
Oh, okay.
original. It's not original. But
Okay.
I like it. I'm adopting it.
Yeah, well, he'll probably be at LSU next year with Lane
Sick. Yeah, he'll
Kiffin.
probably be sick. Yeah.
But guys, that ends the show this week. Happy you guys came by. Keep coming by. Like, subscribe, unsubscribe, like again, subscribe some more, tell a friend. But we are excited. We're going to watch the Final Four this week, and then we're going to watch the first round of the NFL playoffs, and we're going to get back to you next Monday. So enjoy your week. Make sure you hit all your New Year's resolutions, and we will see you again next week.
Adios.